All right, y'all. I know y'all all been checking out this P. Diddy thing and what's been going on with P. Diddy right now. He got some lawsuits, 5, I believe, today. So it's crazy enough, all the allegations going on. But then, just recently, some new shit came into light. And just so y'all know, we're recording on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So make sure y'all go like, subscribe to the channel, hit that button, smash that button so we can get more subscribers, more viewers. Y'all, as I say all the time, I'm not up there. I don't do conspiracy theory. But what I'm seeing now is so tripped out, y'all. It's crazy. And it looks as though P. Diddy may be wrapped up, somehow tied up, somehow, with not only Micheal Jackson, but also Whitney Houston. This Clive Davis thing is crazy, y'all. Like, if y'all only knew like some of the things that I've been seeing, watching, discovering, it's crazy. Like, one thing that really kind of stuck out, like Clive Davis was Whitney Houston's biggest support. He the one made her into a multi-million star, $1 million star. And so when he felt like, well, the last album she wanted to be R&B, he wanted to be pop. He was like, don't do R&B. They struggled with that. Not want her to do an R&B album. And when it dropped, the album did really good. So like he ate his words almost. But he wanted Whitney to do a pop album because he understood like pop would make 3-4 times more money. So he may have felt like he lost money by her being, in his head, hot-headed and not wanting to do pop again. Stick to R&B. He did not want her to do an R&B album. So when it got to the point he felt like he couldn't make millions and millions and millions of dollars with her, then it was time to get rid of her. So you have to understand, like, stars like that, they make the most money after they die. I'm gonna say that again. Stars like that are worth more dead than they are alive. So if that's the case, that kind of makes sense. Like why he wouldn't want her around no more. And do you know Whitney Houston, some of her songs are just now making it to the top 100? So she's almost doubling the money she made when she was alive. To this day. Guess who Clive Davis was a mentor of? P. Diddy. Now, all of these are allegedly, so I can't say for facts. All these are alleged. But if that is the case, then that makes sense. Allegedly, why they had to get rid of Biggie, because his music is worth more with him being gone than him being alive. I got a few clips I want y'all to watch. Just take a look at this, y'all. Y'all can see exactly what I'm talking about. Like, this stuff is getting real crazy. And once again, if you're on this live and you're watching, make sure you subscribe to the channel.
attempt to kill me or kill me like they killed Michael Jackson or JFK, or Aaron, what is the guy's name? Aaron Carter, the guy who wanted to talk to me about the Harley Pasternak situation. If they did do that, they would say, oh, it's Ye's mental health. So
I own half of Sony's publishing and I'm leaving them, and
that man Michael Jackson owned half of Sony's publishing. On half of it.
They're very angry at me. And Tommy Mottola is a devil.
So it looks like Kanye West's claims that Michael Jackson was eliminated by industry higher-ups are back in the spotlight, and it's all thanks to this new lawsuit that was filed against Diddy. Now, if you're wondering what Diddy has to do with Michael Jackson's death, well, prepare to have your mind blown because the details are absolutely insane. So you remember how Kanye revealed his former personal trainer, Harley Pasternak, tried to institutionalize him, and then everyone claimed Kanye was crazy? Well, what's actually crazy is that Harley was revealed to have previously worked as an intelligence agent for the Canadian military, and it now turns out Michael Jackson might have had his own Harley Pasternak. It's this guy, Fahim Muhammad, who also happens to be Diddy's chief of security. Fahim was mentioned several times in the latest lawsuit against Diddy filed by producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones, and according to Lil Rod, Fahim acted as the connection between Diddy and law enforcement, ensuring that Diddy could run what Lil Rod called criminal enterprise without any interference from the authorities. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's much more to unpack here. From Fahim's alleged ties to government intelligence agencies, Michael Jackson's war against Sony Music, Diddy's connection to Sony Music higher-ups, and much, much more. So let's get into the details.
I refused to take this, right? You understand that if I had taken the medication, I would not be here, and it would have been, he was deeply troubled. We miss him. We love his music, though.
Well, they would have Britney Spears too. I mean, look at
they would have Michael Jackson.
Or worse, yeah.
Okay, so let's first talk about all the suspicious details about MJ's death and his highly publicized feud with Sony Music. On June 24th, 2009, the night before Michael Jackson died, his personal physician, Dr. Murray, gave him a mix of meds to help him sleep. However, nothing was working, so in the morning hours of June 25th, Dr. Murray decided to administer a propofol injection. This seemingly did the trick, and Dr. Murray left Michael sleeping to use the bathroom. However, when he returned minutes later, he found Michael unresponsive with a weak pulse. Dr. Murray performed CPR for about 10 minutes and administered something to counteract the sedative OD. But surprisingly, a 911 call wasn't made until 12:21 p.m., almost an hour and a half after the initial discovery. Dr. Murray quickly arrived. They performed CPR for another 42 minutes and then rushed Michael to the Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center. But sadly, nothing could be done, and at 2:26 p.m. on June 25th, 2009, the King of Pop was declared dead, and once the initial shock wore off, the internet became a breeding ground for various theories, with fans questioning the official story. According to the autopsy report, Michael's cause of death was propofol intoxication, and it was officially ruled as a homicide. Dr. Murray quickly became the prime suspect, especially when it was revealed that he had used an unconventional CPR method on Michael. The LAPD and the DEA launched an investigation, but MJ's fans speculated that the police might be trying to hide something. Reports in the media suggested that the LAPD didn't properly seal Michael's house to prevent mishandling of evidence, a claim later denied by the LAPD. Dr. Murray was eventually charged with involuntary manslaughter and sentenced to 4 years in prison. However, MJ's fans weren't satisfied because they believed Murray was just a scapegoat in a larger scheme. You see, Dr. Murray initially joined Michael's team in May 2009 through AEG Live, the promoter for MJ's final tour. Although AEG Live claimed that Michael personally wanted Dr. Murray, it was later revealed that AEG hired him independently, and Michael didn't even sign the employment contract. Meanwhile, MJ's younger sister, LaToya, publicly claimed that his music catalog made him a target, and she said Michael knew someone was after him.
And he knew that everything that was happening to him was not kosher, it wasn't right, and it disturbed him greatly. And he kept saying it over and over and over again. Yes, Dr. Murray was the fall guy, but it's more to it than just that. He named names. He told me people. He told me to be careful of this one and that one.
In 2010, MJ's family took AEG to court, claiming they negligently hired Dr. Murray. During the trial, Michael's son Prince testified that his dad was pushed to the limit, and he heard him say multiple times that they were trying to kill him.
Prince said his father would cry after phone calls, saying, quote, "They're going to kill me. They're going to kill me."
But despite all this, the jury sided with AEG. However, the jury's decision didn't do much to change the minds of Michael's fans, who remained convinced that MJ was taken out by someone more powerful than Dr. Murray. The theory got even more traction when The Sun released notes allegedly written by Michael in the weeks leading up to his death. These notes included phrases like, "They are trying to murder me," and "The system wants to kill me for my catalog." In one note, MJ also talked about feeling pressured by AEG and having a bad feeling about his tour. And then a few years down the line, MJ's daughter Paris seemingly started pointing the finger at Sony and John Branca, the co-executor of the Michael Jackson estate. Paris liked a series of tweets slamming Sony and Branca, including one that said, "We've been telling you the truth for 7 effing years. Shame on any of you who sided with Michael Jackson's murderers." Now it's worth pointing out that Michael absolutely despised Sony and openly challenged them by first acquiring half of their catalog before leaving and becoming a free agent. He once even held up a sign on stage saying "Sony kills" and called then CEO of Sony, Tommy Mottola, the devil.
I've generated several $1 billion for Sony, several billion, and they really thought that my mind is always on music and dancing, and it usually is, but they never thought that this performer, myself, would outthink them.
Yeah!
I own half of Sony's publishing, and I'm leaving them, and they're very angry at me because of it, but I just did good business, you know? And Tommy Mottola is a devil.
Respect!
Okay, now let's tie all this in with Diddy and the new lawsuit against him. In the lawsuit, Rodney Lil Rod Jones alleges that Diddy's head of security, Fahim Muhammad, has close connections with law enforcement and was instrumental in helping Diddy cover up his alleged crimes. The lawsuit says, Mr. Combs made it clear that his head of security, Fahim Muhammad, had the power to make people and problems disappear. Mr. Combs instructs his staff to always contact Mr. Muhammad if they are ever pulled over by the police in Miami or California. The lawsuit also claims that Diddy's powerful industry friends employed and empowered Fahim to pay off law enforcement. Now here's where it gets even crazier. So it turns out that Fahim Muhammad was also the head of security for Michael Jackson, and he was right there that fateful night when MJ passed away. And get this, when Fahim testified during Dr. Murray's trial, he revealed that he was hired as MJ's chief of security just 10 months before MJ died.
At that point in time, how long had you worked security for Mr. Jackson?
Approximately 10 months.
And what were your responsibilities?
I was the chief of his security, so my responsibilities ranged from making sure his house was protected, making sure his children were protected, and making sure his day-to-day activities and movement was all safe and planned and mapped out.
Now here's another wild part. Fahim had just graduated college with a business degree when he was hired as the head of MJ's security, and he was either 20 or 21. So we're supposed to believe that the king of pop decided to make a 20-year-old with no experience his chief of security? Well, not exactly. According to social media user Ian Carroll, who recently went viral after investigating the connection between Diddy and Michael Jackson, someone else might have done the hiring on behalf of MJ.
For most of Jackson's career, his head of security was Bill Bray, who was his mentor and basically his father. And the two were extremely close. Bill ran his security until he was 70 when he retired, and Jackson continued to pay his medical bills until he died at age 80. But then once Bill retired, Jackson was then protected by other security people that came and went, and he wound up with this guy who has direct connections to Diddy's blackmail operations, who was directly complicit in covering up crimes for Diddy and covering up murders, covering up drug use, prostitution, human trafficking. This is the guy that was protecting Michael Jackson the day that he died. The day that he was overdosed on drugs after he was probably already asleep, and the only witnesses, there were no witnesses to the crime. I'm honestly kind of surprised that this guy never got checked into as a suspect.
Ian also pointed out that Fahim might have some ties to intelligence agencies, and fans are now saying he could be another one of those celebrity handlers. You know, kind of like what Kanye said about Harley Pasternak.
I was looking up Fahim, and where did I find another article about him? On Penn State, the Wharton School. He didn't attend it as a student. He was invited as a speaker for this Wharton real estate entrepreneurship event, which makes perfect sense. He has a real estate investment company or whatever, but If you've been following along, you would know that the Wharton School comes up an awful lot when we're talking about intelligence agencies and people associated with the CIA and the FBI, etc. Just thought it was interesting that they invited him to be a honored speaker at their event. And now, here's the best part. Check this out. This is in all of his bios, by the way, but we're pointing it out now. In 2008, Fahim graduated from Sacramento State University with a Bachelor's of Science degree in Business Administration with a concentration in real estate and marketing. Okay? Do you realize what's wrong with that yet? Anything coming to mind? When did Michael Jackson die? June 25th, 2009. Jackson died from cardiac arrest caused by a propofol and benzodiazepine overdose, caused by his doctor apparently. Hold up. Hold the phone. Pause. Why is a dude who just graduated college last year with a business and real estate degree the head of security for the king of pop, for Michael Jackson, the most famous musician of all time? What's going on?
So given that Kanye also supposedly almost got Michael Jackson Ed, fans are now saying there's simply no way all this is just one massive coincidence. Someone commented on Ian Carroll's video, one other coincidence is that Tommy Mottola sold his home on Star Island, Miami Beach, to P. Diddy. And another user wrote, he is right. Everything the industry has done to Michael Jackson was the same blueprint they used for Kanye West. What a sad and corrupt world we live in. But what's your take on all this? Do you think Diddy's head of security had something to do with MJ's death? And does this mean...
It kind of makes sense, like, y'all give me, I was eating. It kind of makes sense, y'all, like how they tell you that somebody crazy and then something end up happening to them. Like, entertainers, black entertainers, they say he's crazier. Lisa Left Eye talking about she crazy, and then she mysteriously passed away. Like, we got to really look into this stuff, y'all. It's been going on too long. I'm gonna try to see one more thing, and then we're gonna get out of here. I want y'all to like, share. If you like the content, make sure you're sharing it. That way I can get this out to more people and do more of these podcasts. And tell me what y'all think too. We're gonna watch a little bit of this one, y'all. Gets crazy, y'all.
Holy smokes, you're not going to believe this, but there is, in fact, a Diddy and Michael Jackson connection. Yes, the lawsuit that we have been covering and following, so much being revealed. You're not going to believe that somehow it is connected to Michael Jackson and his death. And I gotta be honest, I'm kind of terrified. I think this is gonna be the last day that I cover it because we're getting close to something that is very dangerous, I believe. Plus, later on in the show, I would definitely not say that Sexy Red, the artist, is an example of Black excellence, but perhaps Kamala Harris and Joe Biden think that she is. Yes, because her music was being featured at a White House event on Black excellence. And lastly, we have actress Erin Moriarty. Do you remember this before and after picture of this young actress that was circulating, and conservatives were saying we should talk about all of this Botox and filler that these young people are getting? Well, she ended up just leaving social media because she felt bullied and upset. And I want to say that after looking into the story, conservatives were at the very least misinformed regarding the photos, and she is maybe owed an apology. All that and more today coming up on Candace Owens. All right, so I wasn't kidding at the top. Guys, I am probably not going to cover this anymore because it is definitely getting a bit terrifying. Obviously, we covered this. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch. I believe it was Monday's episode. But yes, the Diddy lawsuit is absolutely crazy. Full stop. What if I told you guys that it is about to get even crazier, that there is directly a link to Michael Jackson's death? I want to be clear that when everything was going on with Michael Jackson, the lawsuits, his death, I thought that we were in full conspiracy theory territory when people were saying that Michael Jackson was killed. I actually know a lot of people that are in the industry who believe that Michael Jackson was killed. And I just thought, it just sounds too whacked out to believe that somebody intentionally killed Michael Jackson. Of course, why would they do that? And also, I was believing the media. The media was extensively saying every single day that he was a pedophile, even though he factually won his case. I allowed my image of Michael Jackson certainly to be corroded by the media throughout that time period. I will fully confess that. Now, I want to remind you, before we get back into Michael Jackson, what we learned in the Diddy documents, just to very quickly recap. Well, if you read through them, again, these are all allegations, but you will come out of it understanding that there is allegedly some sort of a blackmail ring that is operating throughout Hollywood, and that artists that are producing music are actually being controlled via being induced into drugs at parties, and then what takes place is they're being recorded, and sometimes they're being recorded while they are committing sexual acts with minors. And something that we also saw in these docs is that these parties, at least a lot of them, are taking place in the Virgin Islands, which again just makes you go, what's happening here? Because Jeffrey Epstein, obviously, his home, or he owned an island that was just off the coast of St. Thomas. So we hear that again. I also am jogging your memory about the Bitcoin millionaire who, right before his death, found accidental drowning, even though he was fully clothed and had his wallet in his pocket, tweeted that the CIA and the Mossad were running a blackmail ring in the Virgin Islands. Something else that we learned in the Diddy lawsuit was that the media and the authorities are complicit. So the ring has real power, not imagined power. Again, I am using the word alleged because this person, despite having, video evidence and he has presented photographic evidence, this has not yet gone through the court system. And so we can't say that it's entirely true. And I'd say the biggest point that we took away from these Diddy docs was that this ring, if you believe it exists, can and will murder people to protect themselves. And he intimated this event that happened allegedly at a recording studio where Diddy and his son allegedly shot someone, and it was covered up by the LAPD and then the media. All right, so within those docs, and this is where it gets relevant, there is one man that is named as being the person that can do the cleanups, right? This is the guy that you are supposed to call if you get into any sort of a scenario. So in these docs, it says, Mr. Combs instructs his staff to always contact Mr. Muhammad, that is Fahim Muhammad, if they are ever pulled over by the police in Miami or California. And upon information and belief, this is regarding the shooting that took place at Chalice Recording Studios. Again, he is alleging that Diddy and his son shot someone. And after that shooting, the documents say explicitly that Mr. Muhammad spoke with the LAPD after G was shot at the recording studio. The LAPD was in the recording studio and witnessed the blood in the restroom, and they went with the bogus claim that the shooting of G occurred outside the studio. This was all thanks to Mr. Muhammad's connections within law enforcement. So again, what we are seeing there is that you call this guy and this guy will make it disappear, and the media will report whatever the incident is in a capacity that covers up the crime, allegedly. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The cleanup guy, Mr. Fahim Muhammad, was also on the scene when Michael Jackson died. So I want to introduce you to and allow you to listen to Ian Carroll. He's an independent journalist that is investigating everything that is going on, and he explains that connection that Fahim has with Michael Jackson. Take a listen.
So this new lawsuit just came out that shows tons of evidence that P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, has been running a sexual blackmail operation very much like Jeffrey Epstein, but in the rap and music industry for basically 30 years. And in that lawsuit, we learned that his head of security while he's running the sexual blackmail ring is this guy named Fahim Muhammad, who before working for Diddy was the head of security for Michael Jackson when he was only 21. And he was one of the first people on the scene when Michael Jackson died. And before we go to Michael Jackson, the most important part of the Diddy case to bring across is the fact that the record executives at the very top knew what P. Diddy was doing. They were attending the parties with underage girls where they were spiking drinks. They were deeply involved in Diddy's personal life, and all evidence points to them supporting his operation, or at the very least, turning a blind eye to it.
So yes, this is obviously huge. It's also potentially terrifying. And now, if you want to be rational and use the rational side of your brain, you just go, okay, well, this could just be a coincidence, right? Like Fahim Muhammad, he is in security. And yes, he obviously is high up in security. He was providing security to Michael Jackson. He happened to die on his watch. Big deal, right? Big deal. Well, I think that would lead us to the question of who exactly is Fahim Muhammad, because that's kind of a big first job to have. You're 21 years old and you're protecting the king of pop. What exactly are his qualifications? Let's go back to Ian Carroll and his reporting.
And now, here's the best part. Check this out. This is in all of his bios, by the way, but we're pointing it out now. In 2008, Fahim graduated from Sacramento State University with a Bachelor's of Science degree in Business Administration with a concentration in real estate and marketing. Okay? Do you realize what's wrong with that yet? Anything coming to mind? When did Michael Jackson die? June 25th, 2009. Jackson died from cardiac arrest caused by a propofol and benzodiazepine overdose, caused by his doctor, apparently. Hold up. Hold the phone. Pause. Why is a dude who just graduated college last year with a business and real estate degree the head of security for the king of pop, for Michael Jackson, the most famous musician of all time?
Yeah, that is remarkably suspicious. And if we had a media that was interested in actually presenting the truth and not just propagandizing on behalf of the state, they would probably explore and look deeper into who this character is. But of course, that's not what the media does. Instead, they are meant to convince people of certain narratives. And like I said in the past, I've been a victim to that. I was obviously very young when everything was going on with Michael Jackson, and I believed the media, which is why I was kind of stunned to kind of go back and revisit the Michael Jackson case. And Ian has extensively unpacked that, revealing, and I did not know this, maybe perhaps because the media wasn't interested in telling us the end result. But yes, the FBI raided Michael Jackson's home. They poured through hours upon hours of the video footage that he had, other materials, documents that were in his house, trying to find this connection to Michael Jackson and potential child abuse. And what ended up being the result was that they could not find a single shred of proof that Michael Jackson had abused any children. And yet, despite this, the media convinced us that he was a pedophile, or maybe they didn't convince you, but they definitely did a good job convincing me that Michael Jackson was a pedophile. And to be clear, maybe it's perhaps the lack of evidence that was ever uncovered. Michael Jackson was found not guilty of all of the charges that were brought against him. But that didn't stop the media's obsessive attacks against him. They still wanted people to believe that this man was a bad individual. And so they shifted their claims and they started revealing in so many articles, so many front page news pieces were written to tell the masses that Michael Jackson was a raging anti-Semite. It is a fact, by the way, that Michael Jackson did keep a list of people in the industry that he said were his enemies, okay? On that list were people that all happened to be Jewish. So it was lawyer Gloria Allred, music exec Tommy Mottola, Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, you may have heard of him, and I'm going to mention him later, Israeli illusionist Uri Geller, and also Michael Jackson's former manager, Dieter Weisner. Now, to be clear, it was Dieter himself that revealed that Michael Jackson had this list, but he says that Michael Jackson was just paranoid, that Michael Jackson thought that these industry people were all colluding to try to ruin his life and to take over his life. And again, that was just Michael Jackson being crazy and being a raging anti-Semite. Well, Ian Carroll also investigates those claims as well. Take a listen.
And yes, Jackson did say that the Jews are, probably referring to the Jews in the music industry, are like leeches and that they took everything from him and that they did it on purpose. But when you look into those allegations or those insults, you realize that because of his will that was probably fake and filed right before his death. So the will was signed on July 7th in Los Angeles by 3 witnesses. But Jackson's family pointed out that he was in New York that day and there's video proving it. So they changed their story. But the witnesses definitely saw it and it was just in New York. So anyways, because of this will, John Branca was put in charge of his estate, which included his net worth of $230 million, but far more importantly, his 50% share of Sony ATV worth $750 million. Yes, he was taking on Sony. He was going after the hand that feeds him. And when you look into John Branca, in 2003, Jackson fired Branca because he was siphoning money out of Jackson's accounts in collusion with Sony Music CEO Tommy Mottola and funneling it through a bunch of offshore accounts in the Caribbean. John Branca is Jewish, and Tommy Mottola is also Jewish.
Wow. Did you guys know that? Did you guys know any of that? Because I certainly did, and I didn't realize that this was a conflict at the end of Michael Jackson's life, that suddenly they were alleging that he signed a new will and handed everything over to the very people that he was fighting, the very people that he was saying were colluding to take things from him, ended up, in the end, taking things from him, despite their remarkable mistake saying that he signed this new will in a place that he simply wasn't at. So yes, Michael Jackson's estate was transferred over to specific individuals who happened to be Jewish. So what do we make of all this? What do we make of all this? What do you think about all of this? Well, I'm going to be honest with you that these claims keep coming up too often in Hollywood for me to be comfortable with it, right? We saw this, obviously, it's not just now the Diddy lawsuit, it's not just now Michael Jackson. We also have seen these claims with Kanye West, notoriously, obviously, when he tweeted out, "I'm about to go DEFCON 3 on some Jews," and the media freaked out, and people in the Jewish community were understandably very scared, not knowing what he meant. And I very much abstained from speaking much about the issue because people were so emotional that people couldn't hear, even if I had shared. And even when Kanye did share that he was speaking about specific people in Hollywood that he believed were coming after him and were trying to control him. He actually named some of those individuals. He shared personal text messages of a friend of his, a personal trainer to the stars, who again happens to be Jewish, who was threatening to put him in the hospital and to drug him against his will. Harley Pasternak is his name, and the media barely reported on those text messages that he shared publicly because obviously he was enemy number one. And here's what else I will tell you. When that Kanye situation went down, I was being threatened by a person named Rabbi Shmuley, person that Michael Jackson put on his enemy list, a person that I had never heard of, was threatening me and saying that unless I came out and said things explicitly against Kanye, he would effectively ruin my life. He said that he would take out a front page ad and smear me as an anti-Semite. And it wasn't just him, it was also his daughter. They were messaging me saying, "Don't mess with Jews." Very bizarre stuff, and they have not stopped, to be clear. And him and his daughter have consistently pulled clips from this show, taken them out of context, and tried to convince Jewish people that I hate them.
Candace Owens is gripped with a poisonous, almost pathological hatred of Jews. It's actually become very serious. It's actually almost frightening. When you see a woman like Candace Owens blood libeling the Jewish people, Candace Owens is losing it. Her anti-Semitism goes by the day.
There is something really, truly wrong with Candace Owens. You guys know that I dislike liars and anti-Semites more than anything in a whole entire world. And here, we have a combination of both. Candace Owens simply will not stop defending Kanye West. It's like an obsession. If she's unable to genuinely and authentically condemn what Kanye said, it says a lot about her. If you come for us, we'll come back at you with everything that we have. I have heard from hundreds of you who feel so backstabbed and betrayed and disappointed in Candace Owens and others who defended, who enabled and encouraged Kanye West to continue spreading lies and venom and medieval Jewish hatred. Candace Owens posted a picture of my face and my name and my account to her over 4 million followers yesterday, many of whom are violence crazed and unhinged.
You really went after Candace Owens today. Why?
That's a sliver of what she actually deserves. She is such a liar. She is an anti-Semite. She hates Jews. She has a thing with
incredible,
Jews.
isn't it? Like, weird.
And while Jews are being attacked around the world, she finds it really necessary to spend her time, use her platform to defend and protect Kanye West while she talks
a Hitler lover.
Crap about
Kanye
Israel.
West is not just a anti-Semite. He's a Hitler lover. That's a different
literally,
level altogether.
Literally. She is abominable. I actually am disgusted by her because she hates Israel. We are coming for you, Candace, on the media, on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter.
The more she defends Kanye West, the more we're going to call her out.
Defending Kanye, we will come for you.
It's utterly ridiculous. It's insane. I know many Jewish people watch this show. Many Jewish people are my friends. And so what I believe is something that should be explored is whether or not what's happening is that just like within all communities, there are gangs, right? Gangs can form. We understand this. In the Black community, we've got the Bloods and we've got the Crips. Well, imagine if the Bloods and the Crips were doing horrific things, murdering people, controlling people with blackmail. And then every time a person spoke out about it, the Bloods and the Crips would call those people racist, would get the media to say those people were racist. Any person that was talking about a specific gang, a small group of people, would say, oh my God, no. That's like slavery. You can't at all say anything bad about the Bloods and the Crips. And the entire Black community believed it and was scared and thought, oh my God, like, is slavery actually coming back? It would be emotional manipulation because, of course, we would know that despite the fact that the Bloods and the Crips are Black, that the majority of Black people do not support the crimes that they have committed, the crimes that they continue to commit. It's a gang. But what if that is what is happening right now in Hollywood, if there is just a very small ring of specific people who are using the fact that they are Jewish to shield themselves from any criticism? It's food for thought, right? And I think, again, there have been enough people that are speaking out about a ring in Hollywood, also a ring potentially in DC, that we should start to ask those questions. All of us, Black, Spanish, Jewish, Chinese, Japanese, all Americans should want answers because this appears to be something that is quite sinister. I will put a button on this by bringing up some tweets from Meek Mill. He has been under fire. The Black media, quote unquote Black media, is saying that he is gay. And he tweeted this: I want to get citizenship in Ghana. America is made to tear Black men down if you don't follow orders. Every Black blog site enhanced that post to make me seem gay. I change laws for our people and I donate millions. They are designed to destroy the image of Black leaders. It can't work with me though. You gotta really kill me. And I still will get bigger after death. This is God, not me. LOL. What do we say to that? Oh, well, what we always say every time a Black man speaks out and says that he is being intentionally smeared in the press, we just say, well, Meek Mill must be paranoid. Meek Mill must be crazy. Again, how many people are we going to keep saying that about before we actually have a meaningful discussion about something that could be quite sinister happening in Hollywood? And yes, I think it is potentially so dangerous if these documents against Diddy are true that they will kill people before they allow that ring to be exposed. And that is all that I am going to say on that matter. While experts anticipated rate cuts, inflation in the United States is still a significant economic concern. Think about it. The U.S. is in the hole by 34.
All right, y'all. That's all we're going to say about that. Man, I hope y'all learned something. I learned a lot. You know what I'm saying? So this shit is getting crazy, y'all. We're going to really have to take a look at this, and we'll be doing more of these. So make sure y'all tap in on other shows. So I'm gonna get out of here. Thank y'all for tapping in. My name is Johnny, and this is Johnny Live. If you missed it, go back and rewind it, watch it, leave your comments, tell me what y'all think. All right, cool, we out.